Hey guys, welcome back. Hope everyone's doing well. We are extremely hot for this time of year. Earlier this week, or I believe it was this week, or maybe it was last week, our heat index was 101, which is ridiculous for the springtime like this. You expect that in like July, August. And we are in a drought down here. It's extremely hot, and everything is kind of that brown, dry, crunchy, which is odd because, we're tropical down here. So we have that going on, and other places have fires, other places are flooded, and people are having, snow in April. It's just ridiculous. You know my opinions about that. So I do need to bring a couple, I would just want to, let me shine some light on a couple things of nonsense. And if people are playing mad scientists and things like that, always say it, I say it, knowledge is power. Don't fall into the fear traps. Be prepared, have the things you need, alternative ways if that's the way you choose to go. Always do what's best for you. Always read my disclaimer, yada yada. There's a couple things I want to bring up. A good friend of mine sent me this. We were talking. So if you remember back, I think it was 2 years ago, I had talked about old Gates. He talked about that there was 11 viruses. He made a list of 11 viruses that he said he believed was going to be the next pandemic. And I did a video on that. It's either back here or it's over on Rumble. I don't do things on Rumble, but there's things that I couldn't put up here when they were really hitting everybody for everything, especially the stuff I talk about. They were over on Rumble. Go through, look at my old videos, even some of the helpful things I'll talk about that are alternative for a lot of different viruses and things. And then information, you can go on my Rumble. My link's in my description as usual. And one of the ones he talked about was a couple up here. One of the ones he talked about, and he pointed out, highlighted that that was the one he leaned towards was going to be the next pandemic. We have a problem. We better get ahead of it. It was like 2 years ago. Was the Marburg. And keeping that in mind, remember they have to tell us things that they're going to do, and they kind of sprinkle little breadcrumbs so people are like kind of aware of different things. They just start feeding that. So there is a Marburg vax trial that is going on in the U.S. And there's four sites that they're trying that in: Dallas, Texas, Peoria, Illinois. I don't know if I said that correctly, people in Illinois, but that's where it's at. Huntsville, Alabama, and Melbourne, Florida. Melbourne, Florida was the first one that they're starting, and they're in phase 2 already of these clinical trials for a Marburg stick. It says, and this is in quotations. Oh, and by the way, for all of you that want to read more in depth, but also for the trolls and the Google gods and YouTube's nonsense, there's links down below and you can go check it out yourself. These aren't my words, I'm just giving information. This is in quotations. Because it is becoming an increasingly critical as Marburg outbreaks growing in frequency. Okay, so mad scientists, anyways, all the new things that they're doing, and plus all the old ones that we used to have around before, they said they were phasing those out and everything was going to be an mRNA jab. Probably it's for our well-being, guys. Anyways, they have 200 volunteers ages 18 to 70 in these 4 locations. I'm talking about the ones in the U.S. because it's also going on in Africa. Of course it is, because those poor people over there, what they do. So they'll be monitoring them for 1 year. So these 200 people, that age group, these 4 locations in America. Now you say, oh, I don't live in those states. I don't even live in those states. I'm not in those areas or anything like that. Stay with me. So the Marburg is in the same family as Ebola. If you know me, you follow me in different things. I said Ebola is one of the ones I would not mess with. That makes me a little, let's not get on the fear train about that. But, that's just one that you need to, that they could do a lot of damage with. I mean, that could happen. So, of course, this project, this trial and everything is funded by DHS. So, where our funding is going. Remember, they were going to dismantle a lot of stuff. But anyways, this is 2025 that they're doing all this. So follow me along. There's a lot of different, these type of things that are coming up that they're warning about, that they're working on and they're doing. There's another warning that's come out. Again, articles below. This isn't me, the articles. If you get mad at me for reading things, you need to check your character of being weak. Anyways, so there's warnings coming up from about this fear that TB, quotations here, the world's deadliest disease could be America's next outbreak. So the warning about this, there were some high school students that had tested positive. I believe it's in 2003. There was like several hundred that had tested positive for us as well. 2003, open doors down below. Things were, anyways. Um, anyways, but they have these things in these labs. They play mad scientists, and I mean, hey, they've acknowledged now that there was a leak before of how the C19 got out. So I don't know. It says so these are stats. These are stats they gave in this article that just came out. It says 1 million people worldwide passed away in 2023 from TB, with 10 million had active symptoms in that same year, including 10,000 Americans. Now, okay, so it's just said 10,000 Americans, but let's get into the details and nitty gritty. 10,000 Americans, they were in other countries, but they were Americans, but they were in other countries or in America, because it didn't say that. Anyways, it says, it also states that they are fearful because TB has been steadily climbing since C19 pandemic. And they're seeing more and more of drug resistance TB. So, there's that whole thing. There's an awful lot of, in that same time frame when anything was going on, that ran its course. The damage was done for this one. People weren't going to do that. It's kind of ran its thing, and now they're coming up with other ones. You throw things around like Marburg virus, that's going to get a lot of attention. That's going to get, now, and I do have some more. There's going to be, there's always those things. Or is it people playing mad scientists and oops, I left that door open and it came out? Is it just the fear factor? And then people like, I think I have this. I have all the symptoms. Especially when I was in nursing, you're like, oh, you read on things. You're like, oh gosh, I have all these symptoms. I felt this before. Or then the fear is just, it's like, oh, this is my card I can use to gain more control. People who are fearful are easier to control and fall in line more and things like that. I don't know. It's like one of those weird movies, right? This is a weird movie that they do, all the theatricals. I don't know, but again, fear not. That's what I have to say. Read your Bible. Pray over yourself, your family, your land, your immune system. And I always talk about, you do what your body, needs, and help your body out, and leave the rest to God about things. Now, there are certain things, we were talking about Marburg and stuff is out. Well, use common sense. I'm not saying that, but don't we try to stay 10 steps ahead, and don't fall into the mind games. So here's another one. These are 3 things I want to bring attention to, because you may hear it, and I know things can sound scary. I know, and guess what? That's why they do it, and they pick out those types that sound scary. March 31st, 2025, they're working on and they're developing a new mRNA jab for the Nipah virus. That's another one I've talked about before. Again, look at the list. Look at the 11 lists that anything he talked about. So they pick these things. We're like, what are you talking about? Where is this coming from all of a sudden? Except for, we've been studying this. We have been playing mad scientists and stuff. We've been studying these, and what if? How can we get ahead of that? That's just where I'm at with things. But with this one, this is already in development. They have the funding, and they're working on that jab for that particular virus, but they can't cure other things. You know where I'm going. So that one is a AI-enhanced, self-amplifying mRNA vax to combat, this is not my words, just their words, one of the deadliest viruses there are. There's a lot of these things going on, those viruses. Go through my old videos, I talk about things. The fear, we knew the time that we're in. What comes with that is control. Is it something to do like, LD type things, martial law type things? So with all of that, and they're making all of these, whether it's real or not, okay? And I said that before about the other one. Is what I see is when they start doing a bunch of these for whatever's truly in it, and they've mixed up and put in it, all I see is shedding. That's what I see. That is where your thing is. Because so many people we talked about, I didn't do these things, any of them. not just the one, last couple years, any of them, you get symptoms. There's warnings again before that last pandemic happened that says if you are a pregnant woman, you cannot be around people who have had certain ones of these because of the shedding. It can be up to 6 weeks. To me, they had also talked about, this isn't my words, Gates and all those people that have our best interests at heart talked about making those that were self-spreading to others who didn't get it. They talked about this. This isn't something I've made up. It is in stuff. Go back and look and everything else. They talked about that. So that's why I think this is, again, I have my opinion. Everybody's allowed to have their own opinion on what it is. And again, always do what's best for you. Do what God leads you to do and what you're comfortable with. I don't judge any of that. It's not my business, like it's nobody else's business what I do. Do or don't do. I think that is if people are sick, and which those all we talk about, what that system does, it weakens, we know, we see it everywhere now. Like it or not, whether you want to be prideful about it or not, we see what it's been doing since people have gotten those. A sick society, a fearful society, lessening the population society, those things going on, it all gives, different types of control, okay? Let's not fall into all of that. Knowledge is power. Stay on top. Get the things you need. And those, always have a backup plan in case you can't get something that you would have to rely on somebody else to get. And then you leave the rest of God. Something I want to bring attention to because I think it's going to start trickling out. And, I don't like some of the things that they're up to. That's just my opinion. So everyone stay well. God bless. And I will see you next time.